Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with a review of WWF Saturday Night's Main Event, Episode 11. I'm really kicking these things in the butt ever since they upload them on a WWE network. I really like the fact that they're only 1 hour. I really like the fact that they use the mainstream stars, and almost every match on every show means something. It's just sort of a shame that, the main event on the WWE Network, the show that they have live from the SmackDown tapings every Tuesday, aren't really like this. I think when they first started out, they were giving us one match that sort of really mattered, and now they just sort of, those guys aren't really doing anything. Just put them on a match on Main Event, and we'll get it up there on TV, and people will watch it. Main Event doesn't really have that appeal of you have to watch this. This was just right after WrestleMania 3. I don't have the ratings that this would have pulled, but there's no doubt in my mind that coming right off of WrestleMania 3, there was a lot of people who were watching this show that either didn't go to it or didn't see WrestleMania 3, and this was the first sort of mainstream sort of big deal that they would have done, and a lot of people were tuning into this just to see who won the big match between Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, and that seemed to be the main angle of the whole show. They seemed to be sort of hyping up the fact that Bobby Heenan was going to make an announcement on this show with Andre the Giant, talking about how Andre was the real world's champion and that he was going to go to Jack Tunney and he was going to get this overturned, and by the end of the month, Andre the Giant should be the WWF champion because he has the video proof that a referee made a mistake and that there was actually a 3 count. And when they actually did show this, they showed the opening start of the match, basically where Hogan and Andre had the stare down. At that fact, Andre shoved Hogan, and then Hogan punched Andre, and then Hogan went for the very early body slam of Andre the Giant, and he wasn't able to get him up. Andre went sort of like up and then right back down and splashed right on top of Hogan, and you can see the referee 1, 2, 3, and then he immediately goes like this, like, he almost got him. It's how they sucked us all in, like, whoa, Hogan might actually lose this match. But Heenan was saying that basically you could tell by the videotape that the referee did count 3 and that he should be the champion, and that they're going to petition to Tunney and they're going to get this overturned. Hulk Hogan had a promo after this as well, saying that definitely the video is going to speak for itself. There was no 3 count and Hulkamania was going to roll on. He challenged Andre the Giant to have a match anytime, anywhere, and he would show to his Hulkamaniacs that he could beat him once again. I think this was the setup of the main event, which was another show that was broadcast on NBC. It wasn't on Saturday night. That actually was treated like a huge sporting event. It's one of the largest rated wrestling shows on network television of all time. That was Hulk Hogan going up against Andre the Giant. Of course, this is what sets up WrestleMania 4. With the whole angle of Hogan actually losing to Andre due to the referees with the plastic surgery where they expose the Hebners as being twins, and they were saying that there was a heel referee that was paid off by the $1 Million Man, so that's coming down the line. The main events haven't been added. They've only added the Saturday night's main event. I'm sure that the next push of shows they put up there, main event is always treated much like Saturday night's main event. When I used to sell the shows back in the day, I always gave the main events with the Saturday night main event set. The main events weren't really that different. They just weren't on Saturdays. That seemed to be the only different. In this show, basically, honestly, that was the main angle. You did have 3, 4 wrestling matches that went along with it. The wrestling matches were good. But honestly, they're just a little bit of a filler to go along. They're just promoting, how big WrestleMania was. They're giving away the thing. They're sort of moving in the next direction, but they're not really moving all that fast. The opening match is Kamala battling against Jake the Snake Roberts. They hype up the fact that Kamala is deathly afraid of snakes, much like when he fought Andre the Giant, when he fought Earthquake, and many other people that were bigger than him. Sort of saying that was the factor that was going to even the odds, is that Damien was going to be out there at the ringside, and how would Kamala react? Jake the Snake Roberts looked like he was actually going to get the win in this match, and at the minute he was about to hit the DDT, Mr. Fuji jumped up on the ring, which set up Kimchi to jump into the ring and hit Jake the Snake Roberts from behind. Kamala hit the big splash, 1, 2, 3, Jake Roberts loses. Right after the match, Hunky Tonk Man pulled off the kimchi mask, exposed it was him all along, and that he had outsmarted Jake the Snake Roberts. This is, of course, coming off their WrestleMania feud where the Honky Tonk Man smashed the guitar over Jake Roberts' head, which Jake Roberts would later say that it gave him pain the rest of his life that led to his drug abuse. They got him to the point where he was hitting rock bottom. And everything like that, but these are fun matches. That's a moment that is much like the DDP and Macho Man and La Parka angle from WCW. I think that was on Thunder. It might have been on Nitro. I can't remember. I remember the moment, and that's always a much remembered WCW moment that a lot of people remember. I didn't remember this. I didn't see this coming, so I popped for it. But it's definitely the same sort of ordeal, same sort of big deal, except for maybe Kamala still got the win, but when La Parka beats the Macho Man Randy Savage, you sort of take notice. From there, we went to George the Animal Steele against Randy Savage. I'm not sure if this was really. I'm not sure if this was really the blow off to this. It seems like they fought on the last 3 main events, or Saturday night's main events in a row. I don't really know how long this feud really went. I know that Randy Savage would be turning babyface here sooner than later in the next little while, so I don't know how they blew this off. But basically, this was a 15-man lumberjack with everybody surrounding the ring, and once they get down there, it's just sort of a clusterfuck with the baby faces beating up on Randy Savage and the heels beating up on George the Animal Steele. It's almost an all-out battle royal, which is going on out there. They got the win with Macho Man beating Macho Man beating George the Animal Steele with the big elbow off the top rope that everybody loved. And then we went to an awesome match. This was the best 2 out of 3 falls. This is the WWF Tag Team Champions. The Hart Foundation going up against the British Bulldogs. Of course, they had their sort of posse of friends that came down with them. There was Jimmy Hart and Danny Davis in the corner of the Hart Foundation, and then the other one was Tito Santana, sort of resetting the whole WrestleMania 3 match. This one is where the Bulldogs were supposed to get the titles back from the Hart Foundation after they were screwed out of them by Danny Davis on WWF Superstars. This was something that everybody was really sort of clamoring for and really, really wanted something big to happen. The wrestling match was great. Tag team action is always spectacular, especially when you're watching these Saturday night's main events. And we haven't even got to like one of the best tag team matches of all time, which is the Rockers against the I forgot what the fuck their name is. The Horseman's name when they came over. Shit. Oh, fuck me. I forgot their name, but we'll move on from there. I wasn't expecting to talk about them. But the Brain Busters. There we go. I knew I wasn't going to be able to move on until I got there. That's one of the best tag team matches of all time. But in this match, in the opening match, the first fall of this, we see sort of a clusterfuck with Danny Davis jumping into the ring and British Bulldog going to chase Danny Davis out, and then the Hart Foundation sort of double team on Davey Boy Smith to the point where they call it disqualification. They say the first fall goes to the British Bulldogs, and then from there they actually go into having another real wrestling match that goes on for about another 5 minutes, where British Bulldogs gives the big press slam onto Dynamite Kid, who goes down, and they pin the Anvil, 1, 2, 3. The place explodes. The place goes bananas. People are just, marking out, going everywhere, thinking they saw the tag team championships change hands. And I know that, like, back in the 80s, the titles didn't change hands like they did today, where it seems like on every pay-per-view you see like a few of the titles move around and they're hot-shotted and everybody gets to touch them, When somebody was a champion back in the 80s, it was a big deal. Most of the time they held onto that belt for almost a year, no matter who they were. So this place just, blew up, and they just let them go with it. Vince and Jesse, we're talking about the match, and then all of a sudden Jesse just says, "These people are idiots. What are they cheering for? The title can't change hands on disqualification." And of course, in my mind, I'm like, well, what the hell is Jesse talking about? Because the second fall was a straight up pin, but you go back and you're like, whoa, the first fall was a disqualification. And I didn't realize that would stop a title from changing hands at the 2 out of 3 falls. But the titles stay with the Hart Foundation, and at that time they were sort of trolling everybody, and that just is beyond crazy. In the next match, we see the Intercontinental Champion Ricky Steamboat going up against Hercules, and as this match starts, we saw a little bubble in the screen with Macho Man Randy Savage sitting in the back of a locker room with the lights out. Just the only light that you see is coming off the television screen as he sits there, and he's eagerly watching to see what's going to happen in this match. And he talks about how he wants Ricky Steamboat to become, to be able to keep his Intercontinental Championship, because that's the only way he's going to be able to win it back. Miss Elizabeth is behind him, sort of rubbing his shoulders, and he is just into what is going on that screen. It's one of the coolest shots I've ever seen from wrestling before. Mean Gene sort of interviewing him, but he's sort of blowing off what Mean Gene says and just talking about what he sees that's on there. Before long, Savage gets, really scared about what's going to happen, and he comes running down to the ring to help Ricky Steamboat, because at this point he's getting double teamed by Hercules Hernandez and by Bobby the Brain Heenan, who's at ringside. It gets down to the point where basically the match gets thrown out because of disqualification, because Hercules is choking Steamboat with the chain around his neck, which Savage comes in and breaks up. So everybody thinks like Savage is out there helping Steamboat. He must be, turning babyface. This must be the point when he actually becomes a good guy. The guy they've been wanting to cheer for so long because he's so good and he's so flamboyant, and he has Miss Elizabeth. And what does he do? He climbs up to the top rope and drops a Macho Man elbow right onto Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, sticking the knife into everyone's back who was cheering for him for coming out there. During this whole show, we saw Hacksaw Jim Duggan in the back having his own sort of vignettes, sort of warning Nikolai Volkov not to be singing the Russian national anthem in front of the people before his match. And in the last match, we see the Can-Am Connection go up against Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. What do you know? They show Hacksaw Jim Duggan sitting in the front row. He bought a ticket for this show. Somehow he got in the back. He filmed some vignettes that NBC showed us all hour during this show, and now he's sitting in the crowd. And what happens? Nikolai Volkov comes down to the ring. He starts to sing the Soviet national anthem. We have Hacksaw Jim Duggan jump the rail, sort of chase off Nikolai Volkov. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is escorted back to his seat and told to sit there. He wasn't kicked out, just got warned. And during this match, we see Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov put the boots to the Can-Am Connection the whole time. At one point, the fight goes out into the crowd, and they're beating Rick Martel right in front of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who basically gets involved into the match and sends them back into the ring. Somehow Hacksaw Jim Duggan involving himself in this match twice for just being a fan who was sitting at ringside. I don't know. Basically, I'm pretty sure once they got into the ring, the Can-Am Connection got the win. Some sort of a roll-up on the Sheik or something like that. But that was it. Basically, this was just sort of a entertaining wrestling show that was just putting over WrestleMania, sort of saying, like, we wish you would have been there, you should have been there. Hulk Hogan versus Andre, one of the biggest matches of all time. It's never going to get any bigger than this, but good wrestling. Saturday night's main event. It wasn't as good as episode 9 or episode 10 was, but I am looking forward to moving on, even though tonight I think I'm going to watch SummerSlam 1990. Boom, that's why the set is out right there, even though I'm probably just going to watch it on the network. Peace out.